Good morning, Latoya.
Well, we know that the chat box is working.
Yes, please feel free to introduce yourself and your business in the chat if you would like. Let's know who's joining us this morning. Good morning, Web. It's Charleston Fox. And Levon Hugs. Diamond. Hope. Some inspirational names real quick. Nina Nesbitt. And Devin. Just a couple more minutes as we let people get in. We know it's really early this morning, so just want to give people a little time.
Yes.
All right, you're good to go on YouTube.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Yep, I emailed you the link just in case you guys need it. So.
Okay. Good morning, Daryl. Skills. It's not quite 9 yet. We will begin in a few minutes. They're still checking in.
Whenever you're ready, Ruth.
Okay, I don't have the clock in front of me, so I will rely on you guys to Keep the time. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Stimulus Round 2, What Small Businesses Need to Know. This webinar is going to be hosted by the City of Charleston, along with SBA and SBDC. We are excited to be able to present this webinar to you on this morning. We realize that small businesses was impacted by the pandemic. Last year, we had stimulus round 1, and a lot of you did not get an opportunity to take advantage of those funding. So today we have a panel of experts to provide you with what, where, and how you need to apply for stimulus round 2. Also, we're going to have someone to help you with the application process, as well as other funding opportunities that are available locally. Again, this is the City of Charleston. My name is Ruth Jordan with the City of Charleston's Office of Women and Minority-Owned Businesses, and we welcome you to Stimulus Round 2. For housekeeping, the presentations and slides will be recorded and will be available to you within 24 hours of this webinar. Participant videos and audio is off. If you have questions, please use the question and answer or chat box. Participants viewing via YouTube live stream will not be able to ask questions at this time. However, we will provide you with contact information with all of our presenters, and we'll be able to get back with you with any answers to your questions. Are you ready? Stimulus Round 2. Our first presenter will be William Furman, Senior Area Manager for the South Carolina District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration. He will be addressing the PPP and the disaster loans. William Furman is the Senior Area Manager for the U.S. Small Business Administration in Charleston. For 7 years, he served the 10 coastal counties in South Carolina, providing lender services, government contracting programs, and economic development to small businesses. William is a Clemson University graduate and have also served as a business service specialist for the Department of Agriculture for over 27 years. I present to you our first panel expert on PPP and EIDL, William Furman. William.
Good morning. It's good to be here. I see some of my friends and neighbors on the line. So Ruth, that sounded very formal, but I do feel like we're really friends and family here. And I just want to share this information. And I'm trying to share my screen right now. So let's make sure that works. Can you see my screen? Great. So we're ready to roll now. So what I want to do is talk about the Paycheck Protection Program, and we're calling this the relaunch, but we're going to talk about a few other things. But before I go too far, I do want to thank the City of Charleston, before I forget this, thank the City of Charleston for pulling all of this together. You know, they did an awful lot of work behind the scenes. Ruth, Meg, Christina, and then there were some other staff that were involved. So just really want to thank them, and we really appreciate everything that they have done to pull this off. We do have I have a lot of information to go over, and we have a limited amount of time. So, you know, we're going to move pretty quickly. It's going to be at a fairly high level, but I think you will get the information that you need. And if you don't have the answers, you'll know where to get them. And if all that fails, you can still call me. You can still reach out to me. So that I think you'll be set after today. I do need to get some legal stuff out of the way, though. So these slides are current as of January 26th. That was yesterday. Still current this morning, as far as I know. I didn't go on our webpage to look to see if anything had changed today, but just wanted to say that. So this presentation provides a general overview of the PPP related to provisions of the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Venues Act. otherwise known as the Economic Aid Act. This is the last round of legislation that just came out. If there are, in the event of any inconsistency between this presentation and the Economic Aid Act, the PPP Flexibility Act, or all of the other acts or forms or IFRs, they trump what I say, okay? So they override this presentation. So just keep that in mind. I kind of laugh because over the last few months, all these programs have, I say they've made a liar out of me, but that's really not the case. I give the information that's accurate as of today, and then tomorrow, next week, that changes. So just keep that in mind. You do need to, and this is very important, you do need to go to sba.gov /PPP. That's where all of the information is posted by SBA. So you'll see some more references to that as we go. So what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about where we are, a few key dates. We're going to talk about first draw PPP loans and what that means. We're going to talk about second draw PPP loans and how to go about that. I'm going to give you a few loan forgiveness updates. And then, where do you go from here type of information, some additional resources, and a few other programs that SBA has that are very exciting and can be very beneficial to you as a small business. And some of these have not been getting the press, so they may be new to you. So hopefully that'll be good as well. So what is a first draw PPP loan? For eligible applicants that did not receive a PPP loan prior to August 9th of 2020. So when we're talking about first draw PPP loans, it's the same loan that was available before. There are a few changes we're going to talk about, but if you didn't receive that loan from here forward, that will be considered a PPP loan. So PPP loan eligibility now includes additional entity types. We'll talk about that. Covered expenses are also expanded. So some of the new expenses, or really the old expenses, were payroll costs, rent, mortgage interest, utilities. We've added operations expenditures, certain property damage costs, and those damage costs would be from civil unrest during 2020, supplier cost, and worker protection expenditures. And there's some things that you can use those for PPP funds for that. But don't get too excited about that, okay? Because you're going to be able to use most of those PPP funds for your payroll. And the 60-40 rule still applies. You do have to use 60% of your PPP loan, first draw PPP loan for payroll. And then you can use up to 40% for these other costs. Another little change, borrowers can now select a covered period to use a PPP loan or to use PPP loan proceeds anytime between 8 and 24 weeks after disbursement. So before it was either 8 weeks or 24 weeks, but now you can use any period in between. So that makes it a little bit easier. Let's say you used all of your money in 10 weeks and you were ready to apply for forgiveness. You don't have to wait till the end of the 24 weeks. So you can go ahead and apply, once you have used those funds. Certain borrowers may request an increase to their original PPP loan amount. All right, this is another one. Don't get too excited about this either. Because this is a very narrow, these are for very narrow circumstances. This would only be for those borrowers that for some reason did not receive what they should have received in the original PPP loan amount. All right, it's not another loan. You don't get to reapply. It's basically just trying to make things right for those borrowers. And there are not that many in this situation. So just need to keep that in mind. You must apply on or before March 31st, 2021. So this round of PPP goes through the 31st. Now, I've got a few numbers here just so to put this in reference a little bit. So I know everybody is concerned, and rightfully so, based on the way it rolled out initially. the funds were gone in a matter of days. That's not going to be the case this time. SBA has $284 billion set aside for PPP. The first week we used $5 billion. So that kind of gives you some idea on the burn rate. Now, the first week we did limit the number of lenders that could access the system. But even so, I think you're going to be good. But with that said, don't delay. Don't put this off. If you're interested in applying for either a first round or first draw or second draw PPP loan, you need to go ahead and get that in. The other thing, again, this is kind of at a high level, but the maximum loan amount you can receive for a first draw PPP loan is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll for either years 2019 or 2020. So you're going to need your tax information. You're going to need to determine what your average payroll is, and then you will simply multiply that by 2.5 times. And so in effect, what you're getting is 10 weeks worth of payroll, right? So average monthly payroll times 2.5, that's 10 weeks. And with that, really, there are no other changes to the first draw PPP loan. It's just a continuation of the first go round. So we did include, or they did expand some entities. So newly eligible entities are housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations, nonprofits, 501c6 organizations such as chambers of commerce. I can tell you our local chambers are excited about that, and rightfully so. I'm glad to see that came about. And then eligible news organizations. Then the still eligible, all types of business entities, sole proprietors, 501c3 nonprofits, and those would include, we have, the first go round, we had a lot of religious organizations and churches that applied. So veterans organizations and tribal businesses. Now, the size standards is something else that we just need to mention here. To be considered a small business under first draw, you have to have less than 500 employees. And so that's important. It did change, and we'll go over that, but it does change in the second draw, and it drops back to 300 employees. Now, that's still pretty large. I think that's going to probably cover, most of you on the call today. And so that is what we call the first draw. So let's look at the second draw, and what does that mean? Okay, for the second draw, it's for borrowers that previously received a PPP loan. All right, so that means that you can't just jump through the second draw, right? You have to have had a first draw PPP loan. So if you've never gotten a PPP loan and you're applying now, it's automatically going to be considered a first draw, and you will need to use that first draw application. As I mentioned, you have to have 300 employees or less. And then this is the big one. You have to have suffered a 25% reduction in gross receipts. Okay, so this is a very targeted program. First draw, you don't have that requirement. Second draw, you do. You have to have had a 25% reduction in gross receipts. All right, and then for most borrowers, the maximum amount of the loan for a second draw is 2.5 times the average monthly payroll of 2019 or 2020, up to $2 million. Okay. The first draw, now we didn't see it. We saw a few businesses that got this, but the first draw was 10 million. So the second draw, again, it's smaller, it's targeted, and it's 2 million. That is the maximum. And then this is another big change too. Then I'm really glad to see this. But for borrowers in the accommodation and food services sector, which is classified under NAICS 72, and NAICS stands for North American Industry Classification System. Every industry has a classification, and for accommodation and food services sector, it is 72. So you have a NAICS code of 72. The maximum loan amount for a second draw PPP loan is 3.5 times your average monthly payroll of from 2019 or 2020 up to 2 million. So that gets you up to 14 weeks of payroll. And so that basically, you know, Congress understands that those industries have suffered more than most others. So they made that adjustment so that they could receive additional PPP funding. Second draw PPP loan applicants must submit the information on SBA Form 2483 SD. That is the borrower application when applying to their lender. Now, I didn't say this before, but if you're just applying and you're getting the first draw, it is 2483 FD for first draw. And so all of that information, again, if you need that application, you go to sba.gov/PPP. There are 2 documents there, one for first draw and one for second draw. It will take you step by step per type of business, per type of business to help you arrive at your maximum loan amount. You know, whether you're an LLC, whether you're an independent contractor, whether you're an S corporation, all of the different situations are addressed, and it will help you arrive at the proper maximum loan amount. So you don't want to sell yourself short. Be sure to take a look at that and walk through that calculation. Okay. Second draw PPP loan eligibility. Again, you must have received the first draw PPP loan to go to the second draw. You have to have used or will use your first draw loan amount only for eligible expenses before the PPP second draw loan is dispersed. Has no more than 300 employees, and you can demonstrate at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. So just to give you an example, quick example on gross receipts, you know, if you had $10,000 in gross receipts for 2019, and then it fell back to 7,500 in gross receipts for 2020, that would establish a 25% loss, or 25% reduction, I should say, in those gross receipts, and that would be eligible for the second draw. So I've had this question, and this is a good one. What if my reduction is 24.95%? You know, I'm right there, but I'm just shy of the 25%. As of today, and again, subject to change, as of today, you have to show the full 25%. Now, SBA understands that there's some accounting practices that could be applied, and you know, there are a few things like that that could get you to the 25%. And I think we'll see further guidance at some point, you know, if to allow certain rounding situations and that type of thing for this. But as of today, you have to show the full 25%. Now, another thing that's come up is can I get a first draw and second draw loan? Good question. You can, but there's a very tight window right now. So remember, you have to have used all of your first draw funds on eligible purposes, and you cannot overlap covered periods. So you have a mandatory minimum 8-week covered period. So you have 8 weeks for that first draw before you could start on a second draw. And the deadline right now is March 31st. So very tight window. I think it's possible at this point, but it's going to be difficult. Another one is, am I eligible if I have not submitted for forgiveness or I did not receive full forgiveness on my first draw? And the answer is yes on that. You do not have to apply for forgiveness on first draw, as long as you spent all of your money, as long as you utilized all of your first draw funding on eligible purposes. The other one that we're seeing a lot of is, can you apply to a different lender? You got the first draw, but you want to use a different lender now, this time for your second draw. You can do that. It's really not recommended that you do that because the first draw lender has all of your documentation. You know, they have your first draw application. They have all of your tax information, all of that. So it can create some issues if you change lenders, but you can do it, and there are businesses that are doing it. So just keep that in mind. You may have to go back to your first draw lender to get some information. Other questions we've had are about the 25% reduction on comparable quarters. So the quarters in, you know, in 2019 and 2020 do have to be comparable. So if you're comparing quarters, it has to be, say, the second quarter in 2019 compared to the second quarter in 2020. The other allowable method is that if you did it on an annual basis, you can show a 25% reduction on an annual basis for 2019 and 2020. That will work. You cannot use you have to use a calendar year quarter, okay? You can't use consecutive months. So you can't say, let's say you wanted to use February, March, and April. You can't do that. Understand that some businesses don't use a fiscal calendar year. You know, their fiscal year may start in August or you know, just a random month. But you still have to do your calculations on a comparable calendar quarter. Okay, so that is, and the rest of the second draw PPP is the same as first draw, the rules as far as that goes. So again, pretty high level. All the information is on our website at sba.gov/PPP. So let's talk about loan forgiveness real quickly. You know, we want to focus on PPP loan making because that is, we have a very short window on that, March 31. Could be extended, but as of today, it is March 31st. So let's talk about PPP forgiveness. Borrowers must apply for forgiveness through their lender. Okay, so that brings another good point, and I think that's maybe on the next slide. But you contact your lender, whether you're looking for a PPP loan or whether you're applying for forgiveness. You go through your lender. You cannot come directly to SBA. Your lender has to process both of those. Lenders submit the borrower forgiveness decisions to SBA. So the borrower will determine, they will go through all of your application, and then they will submit the submission to SBA for approval. And so that's really how that works. Now, we have also had some updates to the Economic Aid Act, and this is huge. This is, lenders and borrowers are all glad to see this. The idle advances are no longer deducted from your forgiveness payment. So for months, we were telling people that because you got an idle advance, which is nothing more than a grant, you could not double dip and get a PPP, have your PPP loan forgiven, and we were deducting the idle advance from your PPP forgiveness. That is no longer the case. That rule has been repealed. If by chance you were one of those folks that already applied for forgiveness and SBA deducted that from your forgiveness, SBA will be cleaning those up. They'll be reconciling those with your lender. Just be patient. There's a lot going on in SBA right now, and quite frankly, that is not real high on the priority list. So at some point, that's going to be taken care of. Forgiven PPP loans are not taxable income. That was clarified in this legislation. Expenses paid with PPP loan funds are now tax deductible. That was clarified. Now, any other questions on that, you would need to contact the IRS, as that is their domain, not SBA's. Expanded forgivable expenses are permissible for any PPP loan not already forgiven. So we talk about those new forgivable expenses, and if you got a PPP loan earlier and you wanted to use those, you can use them now. But honestly, a best practice, probably some of the best advice I can give you at this point is if you can spend all of your money on payroll, use it on payroll. And when you submit for forgiveness, don't try to gather all those receipts and cancel checks and everything else to cover those other expenses. Just use payroll, focus on payroll, and then that eliminates an awful lot of questions from your lender and from SBA. And then we have a new interim final rule on loan forgiveness that came out on the 19th. And that established that for loans of $150,000 or less, you can now use the 3508S form. And as a matter of fact, it's not may use it. SBA recommends and asks that you use that 3508S form. It's a one-pager. It's very simple. You still have to meet all the forgiveness criteria and regulations, but it's a very simple form to submit or to complete and get submitted to your lender. So that's new, brand new off the press. And so we'll be seeing that used by our lenders going forward. Okay, so what do you do now, and what about additional resources? Again, I already mentioned this. Contact your lender. You know, for your application, PPP application, or your forgiveness application, contact your lender. If you don't have a lender on a new loan, you can use Lender Match. It's a tool on SBA.gov. It's a pretty neat. It's just a matchmaker tool. Basically, you go in, you complete a few questions, submit it, and then potential lenders will get in touch with you to talk about your loan. There's no obligation there. Again, it's just a matchmaker tool. SBA.gov/PPP. That's where everything is. Very important to know that. Additional resources. You know, you can contact me. I'm here. You can also contact, you know, our resource partners. And here's a website that will give you our local resource partners. We're very fortunate to have SBDC on the call today, so they're going to speak in just a minute. So they will, Paul Feather-Gill will talk about what they can do, but we also have SCORE here in Charleston. They do a very good job. They can do the same thing. And then make this announcement that a lot of people don't know this yet, but SBA has made an award, and we're going to have a brand new Women's Business Center. Now they're not up and running yet, but they're on the way, and they're getting organized. So now we have 3 resource partners right here in Charleston, and we're really excited about that. We do have email updates. This is very important too. If you go to the SBA webpage and go to the bottom of the page, please subscribe for email updates. You'll be getting all the information. You'll get an email usually once a week. We don't overload your inbox, but about once a week, and you'll get those very important updates from SBA. And then you can also follow us on Twitter. Okay, shift gears here, and I'm going to move really quickly. I know the clock is ticking. We want to get these, you know, the rest of our team on. So let's talk quickly about economic injury disaster loans. Most people are aware of this, so I'm not going to go into the details of what an economic injury disaster loan is. Other than that is the direct loan from SBA. You apply for that on the SBA webpage, okay? So that is still available. You know, we have already talked about the idle advance requirement has been repealed. The deadline for application on an idle loan or economic injury disaster loan has been extended to December 31st of 2021. So that is good news. If you have not applied, I would encourage you to go ahead and apply. We don't know how long those funds will last, but it has been extended to the end of the year. This is another one that people are talking about. There are funds available in the new legislation for targeted idle advances for businesses located in a low-income community, or they can demonstrate more than a 30% reduction in revenue. Everybody wants to know, how do I apply for this new idle advance or idle grant? And the answer is, you cannot apply. If you go into the system and apply again, it's going to show up as a duplicate, and it's going to kick your application out. Now, you're not going to make any progress that way. SBA is reviewing all of these applications, and they will contact you for this advance. So you can go to sba.gov. Again, I didn't check it this morning, but they do have some information there about this targeted grant. There are no other changes in idle. There is not. You cannot come back and take a second bite of the apple For idle, it is only a one-time application, a one-time loan. You know, and again, I'll just add that as of today, you know, there may be additional stimulus packages passed in the future. We don't know what will happen. My crystal ball tends to be not very accurate. So just want to make that note. So if you've applied for an idle and if you got an idle, you cannot get another one. Okay. This is Section 1112 Debt Relief Program. All right. This is a program that came out in the earlier stimulus, and what it did is it provided direct loan payments to SBA borrowers as well as new borrowers that got a loan from SBA. And so the last time SBA actually made the principal and interest payments for borrowers on all the SBA loan types. They made them for 7A, they made them for 504, and they made them for microloans. Actually made borrowers payments for 6 months. So this is coming back as well. And so the number of payments this time will be between 3 and 8 months, depending on that business's circumstances. So if you have a business, just take for instance, you know, the accommodations and restaurants, I think they are going to fall in that category where they would actually receive 8 months of payment. So it just depends on your circumstances, but SBA will be paying current borrowers payments for between 3 and 8 months. And then SBA is going to provide 6 months of payments to new borrowers. So if you receive an SBA loan starting in February, you will be entitled and you would receive 6 months of payments for those new loans. Now, we do want to kind of footnote this and say that the maximum amount and duration of the payments is subject to the availability of funding. So that when the legislation passed, there are some things that are absolutely mandatory that SBA has to do, and then there are things that SBA will do if there is funding available. And this kind of falls into that category. But do want you to be aware of that. If you're a current borrower, you need to contact your lender. Your lender will be in touch with you to talk about you know, how those payments are going to be handled. And then if you get a new SBA loan, and this goes to the end of September, from now till September, if you get a new SBA loan, you're going to receive some payment assistance. And again, that would be up to 6 months of payment. So that's a pretty good deal, The other thing that's a good deal is our modifications to the 7A loan programs. SBA loan guarantees are being increased to 90% on all 7A loans until October 1. And so what that means is it reduces the risk to those lenders to an exposure level of 10%. SBA is assuming all the 90% of the risk, and then lenders only have to assume 10%. So that's going, you know, that will entice them and just give them that much more support to encourage them to make loans to small businesses in these next coming months. In addition to that, we're increasing the express loan amount from $350,000 to $1 million until October 2021. And that's a program, the express program is a program whereby SBA gives the authority to lenders to make loans without approval from SBA. They use all of their own loan forms. They use all their loan underwriting standards. So it makes it very easy for them to make loans. These loans can be used for lines of credit as well. And so we're increasing that from 350 to 1 million. And then guidance is coming out to reduce loan fees. That's in clearance and should be released in the near future. But we do believe loan fees are going to be zeroed out. So those businesses applying for loans until the end of the year would not be subject to any SBA loan fees. So that's another perk. You know, hey, SBA is going to pay your loan fees. SBA is going to make your first 6 months payments. What a great deal. Okay, we're getting down to the end, and I know my time is drawing nigh as well. I do want to talk about the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. You know, we have a lot of these types of businesses in the Charleston area. I've gotten a lot of inquiries from them. But the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant is a program that includes $15 billion in grants to shuttered venues to be administered by the SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance. Eligible entities include live venue operators, theatrical operators, live performing arts organizations, operators, museums, zoos, aquariums, motion picture operators, and talent representatives. Now, this funding is going to be stepped on a step based on the amount of revenue losses. So those entities that had the greatest loss will receive the funding first, and it's going to be kind of a step basis coming down. SBA has not issued any of the regulations or the application yet, but if you go to this website, sba.gov/coronavirus relief, that is where, when it's posted, that is where it will be posted. They have also indicated that they are going to do a pre-application webinar with this as well. So just pay attention to that, and that will be posted. We'll definitely be pushing all of this out on social media and in the press. So just know that that's coming. Again, I think that will be a benefit. One thing I do want to say though, is that you cannot use this the SVOG grant in addition to really a first draw or a second draw PPP loan. If you got the first draw PP loan the first time originally, you would still be eligible, as well as an idle loan, you'd still be eligible. But you cannot come back now and apply for a PPP loan and still be eligible for this particular grant. So keep that in mind. That's a decision that you would have to make. I think we're going to take questions at the end, I do believe. In closing, I just want to say that we had today we were supposed to be doing a lender matchmaker event, and we were on go. We did put in an awful lot of work for that, to do it virtually. We were excited about it. And then Congress had other things in mind, and they rolled out this new legislation, and the city and we got together and we just made the decision that this was more important. Our lenders are very busy processing PPP loans. We didn't want to pull them away from that. But we do intend to do a lender matchmaker event, probably late spring, early summer. And with these new loan programs, SBA loan programs, I think once we get past PPP, those are going to be cranking. That's a really good deal for our small businesses, and I would encourage you to take advantage of those. So I've got to stop here. I think I'm out of time. Look forward to answering questions towards the end.
William, thank you so very much with such valuable information. And we're going to continue this wonderful webinar, what you need to know about stimulus round 2. But I want everyone to know that we are recording your questions, and we're going to answer those questions at the end of the next 2 presentations. On the panel, you see Ms. Meg Thompson, who is our Director of Business and Neighborhood Services with the City of Charleston, along with Christina Ott, who is our project, I like to call her my project officer, but she's our project assistant who has been helping to put this together. And so again, we're going to continue to move forward. We are packed with more powerful information to include additional funding opportunities and events. There's not just PPP money that's available, but we also have EDA funding available, and you will hear more about that. But we promise we will get to your questions and answers, because Christina and Meg are recording it, and Meg's going to lead us in our question and answers right after the following presentation. Our next presenter is one of our resource partners, Paul Featheringill. He is the USC Region Director for Charleston Area Small Business Development Center. Paul joined USC Regional Director as a Regional Director this past October. He has over 15 years of experience in small business lending. Prior to joining SBDC, which is the South Carolina Small Business Development Center, he was a loan officer with the Charleston LDC, a local nonprofit small business lender. He was a loan officer also with the City of Columbia. Paul is from Charleston, and he has a bachelor's degree in political science from USC and a master's in public administration from the University of Georgia. One of our resource partners, both with SBA, along with the City of Charleston, Mr. Paul Feathering Gill. Paul, take it.
Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that? Very good. Good morning, everyone. First, I want to say thank you to the City of Charleston for putting this on and for inviting me to participate this morning. There's a lot of really good information that's being shared here. I want to thank William. You know, William and I have seen a lot of each other recently, talking about PPP and EIDL and some of the different things. William does a great job. He's a great resource partner. We as the SBDC, we are partners not just with the City of Charleston, but we're resource partners with the SBA as well. And, you know, we have a great relationship with them and are always happy to help in any way we can. So, you know, when you talk about the SBDC, and who we are an economic development organization that provides business management assistance to small businesses. We are a nationwide network of programs. There are 63 of them nationwide. Within the state of South Carolina, we have programs in pretty much we have 4 regions based out of 4 universities, USC, Clemson, Winthrop, and South Carolina State. And through those regions, we encompass pretty much the entire state. The region that I work through, the USC region, is you know, based out of USC, but I'm actually here in Charleston. I am in the North Charleston office of the SBDC. What we are is we are a network of professional trained advisors. We operate under SBA and national accreditation standards. Basically, our mission is to really advance South Carolina's economic development by helping entrepreneurs grow successful businesses. Now, how do we do that? So we have 21 centers in urban and rural South Carolina, and we have over 50 professionals in this region, in this network. We do individual private consulting sessions, and all of our services that we offer are at no cost. We do educational workshops and seminars. We can refer people to services with other partners, and then we provide different kinds of tools, resources, and information. So basically it works like this. So if you are needing assistance with your business at any stage that you might be at. So let's say you are a startup business and you want to go apply for financing and you need help putting together a business plan, a marketing plan, financial projections, and putting together a loan package to apply for funding, to figure out where you even can go to apply for financing, whether an SBA loan makes sense for you, whether there might be a bank that might be a good fit for you. That's where we can work with you individually on this one-on-one consulting to help you go through some of those issues. If you are an existing business and you are, say, at a growth stage, you're looking to add products, you're looking to expand into other markets, you're looking to do anything like that, again, we can work with you on planning, on the marketing aspects, on getting the financing together and that sort of thing. We don't actually provide financing ourselves, but what we do is we network with other finance partners in the area, whether it's banks or whether it might be alternative lenders like the Charleston LDC or the South Carolina Community Loan Fund, something like that. And we can help you try to find a lender that will match to your particular situation and will be a good fit for you. And specifically specifically as it relates to this, so we have all of these aid programs available now to assist businesses that have been impacted by the pandemic. So, but all of them are going to require you to, as you've seen from the information that William has presented this morning, they're all going to require you to put together some kind of financial information and to fill out an application of some sort to be able to access these funds. And that's something we can help you do. We can help you sit down and make sure that you've got your financials together in such a way, and we can help you work on this application in such a way to help you get through it. We have been working with clients on PPP and EIDL applications since they first came out back in March. If any of you are familiar with the South Carolina CARES Grant program that came down at the end of last year, we help people put together applications for that. So far, I want to say we've helped close to 1,000 people since March, just specifically on applying with for these programs that are designed to assist businesses to deal with the pandemic. So as I mentioned, our clients, we can work with established businesses, entrepreneurs who are starting a new business. We can also work with pretty much any industry segment. So, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're hospitality industry, retail, whatever it happens to be, we can assist you. And our consultants are generally people who have expertise in one of two areas. Either they have or in some cases both. Either they have been business owners themselves at some point in the past, and so they have that expertise in what it takes to actually successfully manage and run a business. Or in some cases, we have people whose background, like mine, is more in the lending side of things and working with businesses on their planning and on their securing financing. So those are kind of the different areas of expertise that we have. We also have some more specialized areas of expertise. So some of our general things, internal financial management, applying for financing, as I mentioned. If you have operation or human resources questions, because what happens is when you start a business, generally people start businesses because they're passionate about something, they have a skill, they're talented about something, and then all of a sudden you have to do these things once you start the business, like manage employees and payroll and make sure you get your taxes paid, and you have to do all these things that you weren't necessarily planning when you first started out on this venture. And so that's where we can help you come in to kind of develop your process for doing those sorts of things. Marketing plans and strategies, we have several people who are experts in the area of marketing, website, social media design. We have people who work a lot with that, business and strategic planning, sales growth, and then applying for these different kinds of relief programs. We have some specialty areas that encompass exporting. We have experts on exporting, capturing government contracts, developing and taking new products to market, what we call product commercialization. So you have an invention or an idea for a product and you want to figure out how to market it, how to take it to market. We can help you do that. We can help you diversify your business if you're looking to move into other markets. And then we also help people through certification process, women-owned small businesses, minority-owned small businesses, that sort of thing, that can then translate into contracting opportunities and those kinds of areas. And I just wanted to give you a brief, this data is a couple years old. This is from going back to 2018, but just kind of the value of our services to our clients. Typically, our clients have a 17.6 annual job growth compared to 1.8 for the national average, and sales growth 4 times the national average. Now, I will say that the pandemic has changed a lot of that, but I will also say that we've been very successful in working with a lot of businesses and helping people get to these different kinds of aid programs and things that have really helped them kind of be able to stay in business. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you need assistance, visit our website, scsbdc.com. You can sign up to request counseling. The other thing we have on there, another thing that I mentioned, is that we do a number of training and workshop events. We usually do several a month. Right now, everything's virtual through Zoom, just like this, but We cover a bunch of different things specifically related to the pandemic in some cases, but we also will do presentations on marketing, on putting together business plans, on all kinds of things. We're doing a series on intellectual property and patents right now that's kind of interesting. So if you want to take a look at our website, there's also a calendar of upcoming trainings on there, and you can go through that to register. So thank you. Here's my contact information, my phone number, and my email. You can also visit us on the website if there's anything that we can do this, either with applying for any of these financing programs that we're discussing this morning, or if you're just looking to start a business or you're having some other issue that you're looking to grow your business, we can help there as well. So thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions, I will answer them at the end.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Paul. Again, we have been partnering with SBDC for many years here with the City of Charleston. We want to continue to provide resources. And so one of our goals with the City of Charleston's Office of Women and Minority Businesses is to be a conduit to connect small businesses to resources. And so one of the things that we did here with the City of Charleston is that we applied along with LDC for a $850,000 revolving loan fund grant. This particular $850,000 is targeted towards local women, small, minority-owned businesses. Those particular funds can range anywhere between $10,000 and $100,000 at a 4% interest rate, because sometimes you just need a microloan. You don't necessarily need $1 million loan, but you might just need a small microloan, where a lot of banks may not be willing to do microloans. And so the City of Charleston applied with LDC for an EDA revolving loan fund of $850,000. And these funds are available now. You can apply now. Applicants must complete the application by contacting Charleston LDC at info@charlestonldc or calling LDC. That's 843-973-7298. They are our lending arm for the City of Charleston. So again, this is the $850,000 revolving loan fund at LDC. Not only did the City of Charleston apply for EDA funding, but we also had the Council of Government called BCDCOG, called the Cog Cares Fund. The Cog has over $560,000 in CARES Act funding. It's a 1-year interest deferred and or interest-free loan ranging again from $10,000 to $100,000. Eligible businesses seeking assistance should operate in Charleston, Berkeley, or Dorchester counties to be applicable to obtain part of this $560,000. The contact information for the COG is listed here. To begin the application process, visit their website, www.bcdcog.com/economic development. And then you can also give them a call at the COG. Contact Melanie at 843-529-2573. All of these funds are readily available now. The funds are going, but guess what? The monies are still available. And oftentimes tell people we have not because we ask not, because we don't seek out the funds. And so here at the City of Charleston, we're making all of this information available to our businesses, because we understand that entrepreneurship and small businesses is the heartbeat of Charleston and our economy. Now we're going to go into questions and answers. I know you've been putting your questions in the chat box and in the Q&A, and I'm now going to turn this over to Meg Thompson, and she's going to share with us your questions, and we'll be able to answer it. But more importantly, I want you all to know that we are still on time. We were scheduled from 9 to 10:30, and we are on time to answer any of these questions that you may have. Meg?
Thank you, Ruth. So first, I want to remind everyone the slides and recording will be going out to you all. So if you were trying to scurry to write down contact information, don't stress. We will get all of that out to you. So I'm going to go through the questions. Got a lot for William. So to start, Michael was asking what to do if your bank is not taking forgiveness applications. And when does the time frame to request forgiveness end?
Yeah, I saw that question a little bit earlier, and I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, that your bank is not taking forgiveness applications at this point. So the forgiveness application does have to be submitted to what we call the lender of record. So that would be the lender that actually made that PPP loan. You know, they are going to have to process that forgiveness application. So number one, I would talk to my bank, understand they, you know, a lot of times they likely were waiting for this last application that came out. So now they've got this simple application, one page, and for loans of $150,000 or less, that application can be used. And so that's like 95% of all of the PPP loans made should be using that S application. So I talked to my lender, and I would find out, try to get a little bit more information from them about when they will start processing those, because it is important. But don't panic. You have 10 months from the time of the end of your covered period. And so the end of your covered period for many people is going to be 24 weeks. So it would be the 24 weeks plus the 10 months for you. That would be the window for you to submit your forgiveness application. Now, if you don't do that at the end of that 10 months, then your lender would be in touch with you, and your amortized payments would start at that point in time.
Thank you. Then we had a series of questions about the 25% reduction in gross receipts, asking, does that need to be for a full year or for a quarter? And if it's for a quarter, does it have to be like a sequential series of months, or could you kind of build a quarter? Just asking what the rules are there.
Yeah, so it has to be a calendar quarter during 2019 comparable to 2020. So if you're doing that calculation, you would take your gross receipts from, say, quarter one in 2019, and you would compare that to quarter one in 2020 and determine if you had a 25% reduction to qualify for the second draw. Now, I've had some questions, and this would be a good problem to have. You know, I have talked to somebody that was concerned that, you know, they had one quarter where they did have a 25% reduction, but thankfully for them, their business bounced back, and they actually had more revenue in 2020 than they did in 2019. But they had that one quarter reduction, and so at least 25% reduction, and therefore they met that eligibility requirement. You cannot just piece together certain months. It does have to be on a quarterly basis. In other words, you couldn't take say February, March, and April and make that a quarter. It has to be a calendar quarter, January, February, March. You can't just use random consecutive months.
All right. And then Nina, I'm not sure, my apologies, Nina. I can't remember if you were asking this question during the second draw PPP portion or the forgiveness portion, but she was asking if you need to have your 2020 taxes completed to apply for any of these things.
So if you're applying for a PPP loan, this go round, you can use either your taxes from 2019 or 2020. And so if you decided to use 2020 and you hadn't filed taxes, depending on the type of business you have, you may have to at least complete your Schedule C, even though it may not be filed. But it just depends on the type of business you are and which calendar year you plan to use to make those average monthly payroll calculations.
Okay. And then Tamel was asking if you had applied and didn't get it, and I'm not sure if she was talking about EIDL or PPP. Would you still be eligible when funds become available?
Yeah, and that's we need more information, but you know, if you want to follow up with me offline and talk specifically about what happened and what program, and then I can give you some advice on how to move forward.
Thank you. And someone asked, what exactly is the express loan, and what about the no loan fee in 6 months of SBA payments? Asking for a little more clarity on that.
So I'll go back. I'll go back over that. So in what SBA calls, we have this express loan, and it is a loan program. I'm going to go back even a step further. So SBA does, except for disaster EIDL loans, SBA does not make the loans directly, right? SBA issues a loan guarantee. So even on the PPP loans, that's why you go to a commercial lender. That lender is actually making the loan. And on PPP loans, SBA is guaranteeing 100% of that loan. So that lender on PPP loans has no risk. And so that's why they are able to process basically virtually any business that walks in their door, because SBA is guaranteeing them 100%. Now, our other regular business programs, SBA provides loan guarantees, and those loan guarantees just act like an insurance policy to the lender, is an easy way to look at it. So, you know, if the loan were to go into default and the lender didn't get paid, they come back to SBA, they make a demand for that guarantee, and SBA pays them. So SBA, so on PPP, if they have a borrower that doesn't either get forgiveness or pay, then SBA is going to pay that entire loan off. On the forgiveness piece, SBA is actually giving the lender the funds for that loan when it's forgiven. So that's kind of how that works. But on the express loans, these are loans that SBA gives what we call delegated authority to lenders to, and it gives them the ability to make loans without or I should say with very limited oversight from the Small Business Administration. So they are making these loans. They use all of their own credit criteria. They use all of their own forms. And so lenders like it. Now, they would have a reduced guarantee. Typically, that guarantee is only 50%. I think we're increasing that to 75% in this case. But they like it because it's very quick and it's very easy, and they're able to make loans without, having to come back to SBA. And so we're increasing that from $350,000 to $1 million. So that gives them the ability to do a lot more things with that increased loan amount. So that's an important piece there. And then what was the second part of the question?
So they were asking about express loans and about the no loan fee in 6 months of SBA payments.
Yeah, so the no loan fee, SBA on 7A loans, and that is our typical loan guarantee program. SBA is increasing that guarantee to the banks up to 90%. And so banks will like that because it reduces their risk. It will encourage them to make more loans to small businesses. Now, the no fee is still in clearance. It's not in effect today. Let me try to make that clear. It's not in effect today, but we think that it's coming. And SBA does charge fees for these guarantees, and these fees are charged back to the borrowers. Usually it's around 2 to 3%. And those fees it appears, are going to be waived. And so that the borrower would not have to pay those fees up until or through September, and then we start a new fiscal year on October 1. So that's a real advantage this year. And then the payment assistance, whether you are a current SBA borrower, if you're a current borrower, you will be receiving, or SBA will be paying your principal and interest payments, anywhere from 3 to 8 months, depending on the type of business that you have. And then for new businesses through September, SBA will be paying new business loans, I should say, new business loans, SBA loans. SBA will make those principal and interest payments for 6 months. And so what programs are we talking about? We're talking about SBA microloans. We're talking about SBA 7A loans. We're talking about SBA 504 loans. I did see a question while we're here. I did see a question. Somebody asked if SBA would be making 6 months of payments for the economic injury disaster loan or EIDL loan programs. And the answer to that is no. That is not included in this piece. Those loans are deferred though for 12 months. So you don't have to make a payment for 12 months from the date that the loan is made.
Perfect, thank you. Then Jason has kind of a unique situation. He purchased a business that was failing during the pandemic, and he has all of their financial documents that show a loss and payroll info, but he doesn't have their tax documents. Can he use all of that to apply for PPP?
He's a brave man. Yeah, so SBA, SBA has a document out, it's frequently asked questions, and if you can obtain certain records, number one, if the business was in operation as of February 15th of 2020, and then subsequently that business had a change of ownership, as long as those records are available, SBA has made the determination that they are eligible to get a PPP loan. Now, this has become a little more complicated. And one of the first questions I would have to ask is did the business get a first draw PPP loan? Are you looking to get a second draw PPP loan? And we don't have all the answers on that yet. That situation is a little bit complicated because it involves tax ID numbers, and those numbers are required for our application process. And many times if you have a change of ownership, you have a change in tax ID. So that's a good reason to sign up for email updates and pay attention to the notices that SBA issues, as there will be a notice that addresses PPP loans and changes of ownership. That's coming out. They're working on that now, but there are a lot of moving parts on that, and so they're having to work through it.
Okay. And then I want to mention Lori had asked if SBDC offers Quickbooks Workshops. And Lori, just in case you didn't see Paul's answer in the chat, they do offer that training from time to time. He's recommending that you check out the website and sign up for the monthly newsletter to know when they're going to be offering it next. Right,
Yeah,
Paul?
you can go on our website there. We have a training calendar on there so that you can see what's upcoming. You can also sign up for our newsletter. We are constantly scheduling new things, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But QuickBooks is something that we do from time to time.
I think I know the answer to this, but William, can a new business that started up mid-2020 still take advantage of a PPP first draw?
The answer, unfortunately, to that is no. The business does have to be in operation as of February 15th of 2020. And that's a situation I wish Congress had addressed. I've talked to several people in that same scenario, many times, or just a fact. We didn't know back in March where we would be today. And so, I really feel for those businesses that didn't start their businesses prior to February 15th because they are not eligible. Ruth, I don't know if that may be an option that they could come to you or to the LDC. I'm not sure if they would be eligible there or not.
So again, LDC, they can definitely give them a call. For the EDA, it has to be pandemic related for the EDA funding. However, LDC does have other opportunities for startup businesses as well.
Good. Yeah, good point.
Then Jason was asking, are all of these loan programs credit-based?
No, some are and some are not. With PPP, there is no requirement for credit underwriting, with the exception that if a business is currently in bankruptcy, they are not eligible. But there's not the requirement for the lender to pull a credit report or check credit scores or anything like that. So it is not credit based. The economic injury disaster loan is, and so if you apply for the economic injury disaster loan through SBA, they will pull a credit report, and the credit, generally speaking, I think the credit score is a minimum of 570. But I know that, they will take special circumstances into consideration. If you receive a declination based on credit, you do have the opportunity to request reconsideration and provide documentation and things to support your request.
And I know there was some confusion about this early on, but Shaniqua is asking which of these programs are available for independent contractors and sole proprietorships.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, because this can affect both independent contractors and the businesses that engage those contractors. So if you are an independent contractor or sole proprietor, you are eligible for both the economic injury disaster loan and the PPP loan. Now, if you are a business that uses 1099 employees, and people, these businesses will typically, a lot of times they will call them employees, but they're really not employees, they're contractors. And those contractors can actually go and apply for PPP on their own. So if you're a business that uses these 1099 type individuals, you cannot use their payroll. They are not an employee. They're an independent contractor. So that will impact the maximum amount of your PPP loan. So yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, and then Julian was asking, he's started the LDC loan process. Does that mean he would be able to be in the running for the 4% interest rate? And Julian, my recommendation would be to talk to the LDC, let them know that you've learned about this program and ask if you're eligible. Our understanding from the LDC is that they might use this program in conjunction with other ones to meet a business's need. So they may have you signed up for a different loan program and this one combined. So I would check with them to see if you could change over.
Yeah, and Paul, you may want to jump in on this, but the LDC does a webinar. I want to say it's 4 times a month on their application process.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My understanding now is that they're on Tuesdays in the morning and on Thursdays in the afternoon. And I believe it's 4 times a month. So you can contact them and they will, you can sign up for one of those and they'll walk you through everything.
Great.
Great.
Deborah is asking about businesses who did receive EIDL. Are they able to request an increase in the original loan amount at this point?
Paul, that's another popular, difficult question. And so the EIDL loan is based on the lesser of the 6 months working capital for the business as determined by SBA, or $150,000. So $150,000 is the absolute maximum amount of an EIDL loan. Now, if you feel like you have not received the adequate amount for working capital for 6 months, you can go through the reconsideration process and request an increase in your loan amount. If you want to send me an email, I can give you some information and some advice on what you need to submit back to the Office of Disaster Assistance. And so just so you know, of course, I'm here in Charleston, you know, and I work for the South Carolina District Office. All of those economic injury disaster loans or EIDL loans come through the Office of Disaster Assistance. So we're all under the SBA umbrella, but I don't have access to any of their records. I can't see your application. I can't, you know, I can't give you the status. I can't tell you really anything specifically about it. And so that's been a challenge this whole time. I don't know, hopefully in the future, maybe they'll make some changes and we can do a little better on that end. But just want you to understand that those dynamics there.
Right. And Hope again was asking, what if your business started in 2020? So again, I want to encourage you to reach out to the LDC and the COG, because those might be better fits for you right now because they don't have timestamp that some of the SBA programs do. And then again, just a little bit more clarity on the 25% gross receipt. If you have at least 1/4 of that revenue that was 25% or less, you can apply. Just want to make sure that they understand even that they can apply even if their annual was not less than 25%.
Yes. You can. It's either or. If you have a comparable quarterly loss of more than 25%, it just takes that 1/4. Does not have to be annual. However, if it makes it easier for you and you do have an annual loss of more than 25%, you can use that as well.
Right. For the targeted EIDL, is it either low income community or 30% or both or just one or the other?
Good question. And that's one that SBA still got to provide further guidance on. You know, I don't know exactly how. They're limited funds and there are millions and millions of applications. And so how they are going to make the determination as to who actually receives those targeted EIDL advance funds, we don't know yet.
Right.
Stay tuned. They should be making that decision in the next few days to few weeks.
Okay, great. Then we have a question from someone who has a floral company in town, and they usually do a lot of weddings, but they didn't do any last year and haven't done any yet this year. They don't have any what they're calling normal employees. It's just the owner and her husband. They don't have payroll. So what can they apply for?
Yeah, so go back. SBA does make allowances for owner employees, and so you would be eligible for both economic injury disaster loan, and so that loan is not based on employees, right? So they're kind of two different targets here when you look at an economic injury disaster loan and a PPP loan. Economic injury disaster loan is just that. You've suffered an economic injury and you need working capital. And so that's how that loan is derived. You get the economic injury disaster loan. It should be based on 6 months of your business's working capital. And so it doesn't really matter how many employees you have. It's based on working capital. So that very well, if you haven't gotten that, highly encourage you to take a look. And then going to PPP, SBA does make allowance for those owner employees. And I would recommend that you go back to our website and look at that document on how to calculate your PPP loan. And it will give you, you just have to find what type of business you have. You have no employees, and it will give you the step-by-step instructions on how to calculate your loan.
Okay. We have someone who applied for the grant, so I'm assuming that's EIDL, when the pandemic first hit, and they've tried to apply again recently, but they still haven't heard anything. It just shows that they submitted their application. What should they do?
Yeah, if you submitted your application, and so I guess a little history here. Here's how this happened. So when it all first came out, you had the opportunity to get the EIDL loan And then you also had the opportunity to get the EIDL advance. And so as people were applying, you could get either or. And so they were working through their way through that. Then we ran out of money for the EIDL advance. And so they just took that whole question off of the application, and people were still applying for the loans. So if you applied, you would be in consideration for the targeted EIDL advance. There is not an application. I don't think there will be an application. SBA is simply going to look at all that demographic data of who applied, and that they will determine who they are going to disperse those funds to, who is eligible based on the criteria, and they will contact you for those additional funds.
Again, another unique situation. We have someone who was not able to get PPP the first time around because they weren't a citizen. Looks like they've now got citizenship, so congratulations. They have tried to apply, but they received an automated message saying that because they didn't get it granted the first time, they can't apply for the second round. Any advice?
You know, that may be an EIDL. I need more information. So EIDL, if you're declined, that system, if you go back, even like now, the question was, I applied for the grant, and it you know, it's going to kick it out. Once you apply one time in EIDL, if you try to put in another application, the system recognizes that and it just kicks it right back out. So that's not going to work. That is a special circumstance. If you were not a citizen and applied and were ineligible, and now you are a citizen and would like to apply, you need to call me. You know, I don't know the answer, but we would try to figure out what we needed to do on that. For PPP, you should still be able to apply. I mean, the lenders, they have the ability to work through those types of situations. One thing I want to add that I didn't talk about is that this time SBA is doing validation checks on all of those PPP applications. So when a lender submits their PPP application, you know, in the first round, it was instantaneous. They submitted the application to SBA, and SBA, the system automatically just kicked out an approval. It was a matter of seconds. This time, SBA is doing what we're calling a validation check, and it's almost like they're using artificial intelligence. They're doing some background, you know, stuff to try to make sure that all of those applicants that are applying are eligible. And so what's happening is it's working almost too good, because now they are the lenders are getting error codes, and they may or may not be accurate. And so they're having to work through those error codes to try to get those corrected. And it's taking days this go around to get some of those approvals and get those codes cleared. So just want to, you know, that could be a situation, you know, if you weren't a citizen, but now you are, that would be one that likely could be flagged, and an error code could pop up. You know, what do you do? Number one, make sure when you're submitting your applications, make sure everything is accurate. Check and double check and triple check that you got your tax ID number right, that your name is spelled exactly right, that your bank account number is correct. If any of that information is off, then it's going to get an error, and that's going to slow things down.
Ruth, you got your hand up.
Yes. William, thank you so very much for all those wonderful answers to the questions. We still have just a few more minutes that William can continue to answer questions. So we're going to let him take a breather very quickly. I did see one question about MBE certification, being certified as a woman-owned business to be able to apply. I'd like to answer that. You don't have to be certified with the City of Charleston's Office of Women Minority-Owned Business. However, we would like to invite you to become certified, because there are some benefits being certified with the City of Charleston's Women and Minority-Owned Business. And so I wanted to make a quick announcement about our next webinar that's coming up February 23rd. It's called Mining Your Business. you will gain the tools of what you need to make sure that your business is successful. This is going to be a virtual event. We ask you to go ahead and start registering immediately after this particular workshop. It's going to help you to avoid pitfalls, learn about how to be certified with the City of Charleston MBE program, and then developing and maintaining an entrepreneurial culture and mindset to be more successful in 2021. It's going to be a lunch and learn from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so we ask you all to please register for this event. You can also find it on the City of Charleston's web page under our business resource services as well. We want you to continue to visit our website because that's what we do on a monthly basis, whether we're partnering with one of our partners or doing and hosting events ourselves. You can find out all that information on Minding Your Business on the City of Charleston's website. And so we have just about 4 minutes. So William, you can answer a few more questions and then we're gonna do our final thoughts and thank you. So just a few hot questions. Meg?
Sure. And real quick, I saw Hope put in the chat. She's an African-American woman and would like to know how to get registered. Get in touch with Ruth, ma'am, or go to our website, as she just said, and we can help walk you through the process. So please do that. That would be great. Next, someone was asking about the forgiveness period for PPP. Is it still 10 months from the date of receipt of funds? Talking about the first round of PPP here.
Yeah, it's 10 months from the end of your covered period. So if your covered period was 24 weeks, then it would be 10 months after that.
Okay, great.
So total of, if my math is right, that would be a total of 16 months. If you use a 24-week covered period.
All right, next, another unique situation. Small business owner that is retired and receiving Social Security. They didn't file taxes in 2019 because she didn't receive any 1099 forms. Does she need to file for 2019 taxes or just do it for 2020 to qualify for EIDL?
Well, there are a couple of things here. Number one, you've got to be able to show that that you were in business, and I'm kind of thinking out loud here. You've got to be able to show that you were in business as of February 15th of 2020. You do have the option to calculate your payroll, average monthly payroll on either 2019 or 2020. So you very well may be able to get by with just your 2020 taxes in that situation.
Okay. Going back to PPP forgiveness, is it 100% forgiveness or does it just forgive fees and interest?
Yeah, as long as you spend all of your money on authorized purposes, in other words, 60% for payroll, 40% for other costs, and as long as you maintain your staff and don't reduce salaries, then it's 100% forgiveness.
Okay. We've got someone going back to the 25% gross receipts. They had only a 23% reduction in revenue. So do they have to wait until the new rules in accounting come out to apply? Any idea when modifications may happen to allow businesses kind of like that to apply?
You know, that was part of the legislation. It was a firm 25%. We don't know if it will be changed or not, honestly. You know, all you can do is just wait and see what comes out. Be sure to sign up for our email updates, but there's nothing you can do. This, as of today, if you had a 23% reduction, you are not eligible for PPP second draw.
Okay. Again, I think I know the answer here, but would the PPP loan be available for someone who got started in 2020, but because of the pandemic couldn't work?
Yeah, if that business was not in operation as of February 15th, 2020, they're not eligible.
And the 25% gross reduction fees. Sorry, Ruth, I've got 3 more. I'm just trying to.
Okay, that's fine. We actually have about a minute for a
Yeah.
couple more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and conclude.
Is that reduction on cash or accrual basis, and does it need to match to the basis of the file, the taxes filed?
Yeah, so the IFR that I am aware of, and that this may be one we want to continue conversation after this, but it's gross receipts. So I'm not sure that would matter. But the IFR does not discuss the type of accounting that you're using. It's just straight gross receipts.
Okay. So Autumn was asking, they applied for the first time around in late March and got a confirmation number, but never heard or received anything. Should they continue waiting, or what can they do to get help?
Well, she must be talking about an EIDL, economic injury disaster loan. She needs to call me. Yeah, she needs to call me.
Okay. And then last question, Sandra is asking, where does she go to apply for PPP?
I would go to my lender, whoever you do your business banking with, is where you need to start.
Okay, we got through all of them. Thank you.
All right.
If I could add to that just real quickly, we know of some lenders that are doing PPP loans right now. So if your bank is not, and you need some assistance getting matched with somebody who is, that might be something we can help with.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I want to thank all of our presenters. I wish that we were in person, that we could just give a great Charleston thank you for William and Paul for a fabulous job. Let's give them a hand. Again, thank you for such valuable information, Paul and William, on behalf of SBA, South Carolina Business Development, and the City of Charleston. All those who participated in the webinar, we want to say to all of our participants, thank you, thank you, thank you. Always know that the City of Charleston Office of Women Minority Business and the Business Enterprise Office is here to assist you. On the screen is our contact information along with SBA, SBDC, as well as the slides in the presentations will be made available to you. And if you didn't get your questions answered, please contact William Furman at the number listed below, as well as Paul Feathering-Ill and myself, Ruth Jordan, with the City of Charleston. And also want to thank Meg Thompson and Christina Ott for a fabulous job in helping us put this presentation on, and look forward to seeing you at our next virtual event, Minding Your Business, on February 23rd. See you then. And again, thank everyone for participating on today.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Presenters, just to let you know, we had about 30 people joining us on YouTube as well.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right.
Hey, William, while you're on here, can I ask a question that I got yesterday?
Yeah, sure.
What if you started in January 2020? What would you compare your revenue to?
That is, I can't tell you verbatim, but that is addressed in that guide on how to calculate your loan amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you're